Oh, why? Let's ride! What are you doing? Sport!
Hear ye, hear ye. Hear ye, hear ye. Hockey season's around the corner. We're feeling good around here in Puckland.
Oh my God. And the equinox is almost upon us because for those of you who don't know, the equinox is when all four major sports are aligned at the same time. We got the NBA season a couple weeks away, but like Alex said, hockey season 2 days away. And ironically, our teams are playing each other on opening night. So that should be a dandy, at least for the both of us. One of my goals this year is to try and watch a whole season without interruptions. But anyways, I'm Matt Sirianni, Alec Nava from North Carolina. Alec, how are you, buddy?
Oh, man, this feels weird knowing that it's just the two of us right now, but we're trying to get everyone here to come on and wake up because it's Sunday morning. I mean, what are we in an alternate universe? We're recording on Sunday morning, since we're usually doing this on Saturday nights.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I've said this a lot over the last couple episodes. I did go to see their Daughtry concert on a Saturday night, but like I said, I was willing to do anything and everything I could to get an episode in, including getting an episode in before the 1 o'clock game started. But we do have a London game going on right now between the Vikings and the Browns in London. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But this is episode 18 of Four Square Sports, when the game stands tall. And oh my God, playoff baseball, NFL, a little college football too. I didn't expect what happened last night as far as college football is concerned. Because when I tell you, we had not one, not two, but 3 top 15 seeds went down. We're gonna start off with college football right now. I think this is the perfect place to start, knowing that that was fresh top of mind. So Florida beat Texas, UCLA, who was winless, beat Penn State, and Iowa State took their first loss of the year to Cincinnati. All unranked teams beat top 15 teams. And for those of you who want to understand the Penn State loss, it was their second loss of the year. Now, the week before, they lost to Oregon at home in the whiteout. This was different because UCLA has been historically not so great football program. They were winless coming into this game. And then what happens? They took as big a – they were up by over 20 points at the half. And then Penn State tried to catch up, and then it ended with one of the most questionable 4th and 2 plays from the 15-yard line that you will ever see. And the Penn State Nittany Lions took a really bad loss. Their playoff chances are probably in hot water right now because of this. And, you know, I mentioned Texas. They lost to Ohio State as a defensive masterclass by the Buckeyes. This, on the other hand, was a Florida team that beat them by double digits, who was also winless, and their coach was in scrutiny in Florida. So then there was this. And then the Cincinnati game, people were expecting the Iowa State Cyclones to have a bad game because they were getting by a bunch of games that they probably shouldn't have gotten by, and then they finally got a taste of reality today. When we look at these 3 upsets, which one stood out the most to you?
It's easily the UCLA upsets because they were previously 0-4, and they come out and beat a Penn State team that literally took Oregon right to the teeth in double overtime. Though I'm starting to feel, is Penn State really missing Abdul Carter and Tyler Warren at this point? They got it, because a loss like this is going to sting big time. The rushing attack is still the same between Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. But out in the world, do you allow Nico I am a live to turn from Nico I am your problem now to Nico I'm about to put on my Superman pants on. 5 total touchdowns on the game. I'm not kidding. He had 5 total touchdowns And while he had Warren 66 passing yards, he more than made up for it with Warren 28 rushing yards.
That's a crazy stat. I'm looking at the stats right now. That's crazy. 5 total touchdowns.
Yeah, 5 total touchdowns from Iamaleava. This outright insanity from the UCLA Bruins to upset one of the top teams in the NCAA. Now, granted, Penn State losing to Oregon wasn't going to be a problem for their college football playoff implications. But this, you might as well just kiss them goodbye.
Yep.
Well, at least Gavin McKenna looks good.
Yeah.
On the hockey side of things, at the very least. So that could ease the blow, but football is king in sports in North America, and this loss stings.
Yeah, not a good look at all. And then, Drew Aller, who was considered one of the top quarterback prospects coming into the 2026 draft, this is not good for his stock. I mean, he didn't have throw an interception. He threw for 200 yards, but now I think the magnifying glass is starting to be zeroed in on him and James Franklin of Penn State, because James Franklin, ever since he took over the head coaching job for the Nittany Lions, has not won a big game when he needs to. In fact, he's actually lost a lot of really disappointing games that he should have won. So James Franklin's now under the microscope now, and I don't know if Penn State is ever going to get over the hump with him.
Last year was the best season that he's coached in his career at Penn State. You could argue that. This year was a step back from what last year was. Because last year, that was their shot. When they allowed the field goal to Notre Dame, it all disappeared at that moment. Because that game, you could argue, was their best chance at maybe advancing and even winning a national championship under him. But now, I think they wasted that opportunity.
They did. And it's a shame, because this program has been consistent the last several years, ever since they try to get out of the Joe Paterno scandal. They've been good on that front, but like James Franklin just can't win the big one, and he can't win important games. Like, this was an important game. You lose to Oregon in double overtime, you had to bounce back from this on the West Coast, and you didn't do it.
Yeah, and I feel if his seat isn't warm or hot right now, it should be.
Yes, 100%. Now, the Texas-Florida game I want to get into for a second, because this was another example of Arch Manning not being the prodigy we thought he would be. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions off of 263 passing yards, 37 rushing yards. Texas lacks a ground game. And I think that just, again, showed here. I mean, Arch Manning can only carry the team so much. The ground game, again, non-existent. They probably miss, guys like Bijan Robinson a lot. But, it's just becoming apparent that this team is just, they're overrated. I mean, the Ohio State game, you mentioned before, the Ohio State game was going to be a toss-up, and Ohio State just made them suffer with their defense. But this, on the other hand, this is a coach that was in hot water, a coach that was not in good position, a Florida team that was a disappointment and a shell of what they used to be, and now here they are. They pick up the win over Texas.
It's crazy, because Billy Napier came under fire for his handling of the USF game, and he needed something to instill confidence back. There was the possibility that Florida could end up with a losing record this year based on what they're facing in the conference. And they're going up against a Texas team, and they do this? What in the world is going on in college football, Matt? Is Arch Manning, for as talented as he is, he can only do so much on this team in which it lacks an overall ground game. And this team that we hyped up so much in the preseason is not what we thought it was. Jadon Blue, he's now with the Dallas Cowboys as their first-string running back. He used to be the Texas running back, and I think Texas misses him. Bijan Robinson, same thing. They miss him, and now he's dominating the NFL with the Atlanta Falcons. And more, there are people saying, I'm starting to feel bad for Quinn Ewers. Well, yeah. I can understand that, but if Arch Manning doesn't get any help around or any talent recruiting ain't with him, then I feel bad for the kid.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, because we hyped up this kid to be the second coming of the Manning brothers, and he really hasn't been that in his first full season as the starter in Texas, although Steve Sarkisian has not made things any better.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I wasn't really that high on Steve Sarkisian as the Texas head coach, because after his tenure with the Atlanta Falcons, and when Texas hired him, I wasn't really all that sure about why the hire was made, but I know he can recruit talent, but it's one thing to recruit talent. It's another thing to coach your team all the way to the national title. That we hyped up this team to go all the way. Well, it turns out one team can eat its own hype and really falter under the expectations.
Yeah. So now with these losses and the Iowa State loss, this actually begs some questions as to who could move up into that top 12. So I'm looking at the power rankings right now. Obviously, Oregon and Ohio State and Miami. Miami barely took care of business against Florida State, but they looked really good. Ole Miss is in the conversation. Oklahoma's top 5. Texas A&M. Obviously, you're going to see Penn State, Texas, and even Iowa State fall out of the conversation. But remember the playoff format. It's 5 conference champions and 7 at-large bids in this scenario. So when you look at this, I could see a team, and call me crazy, you might see a team like LSU get into the top 12. I think Tennessee gets in there. Georgia Tech. You know, the ACC has not been too good, so maybe they're in the conversation because the ACC is terrible. I'll allow Bill Belichick. But there's them. There's also Notre Dame is all of a sudden back in the conversation. They lost their first 2 games, and now they've won 3 straight. They pull off a big win over Boise State by 21. BYU could now all of a sudden be a team that could be the Big 12's savior. So there's a lot going on here in the top 12 shakings. I know we're only past week 6, but we're at the halfway mark, and it's crunch time. It's starting to get there. So it should be interesting what happens.
Oh, if Texas Tech keeps going the way they are, could we see them in the college football playoff this early?
And it's funny because Texas Tech was a team that John hyped up, you know, having billions and billions of dollars, or a billionaire running the school program with NIL deals. So this could also be a big, massive thing for Texas Tech. And like I said, BYU's also too. But Iowa State, I hyped them up a lot, and they kind of let me down with that Cincinnati loss. But, you know, the Big 12 is very competitive. Like I said, the ACC, apart from Miami, is just a shell of itself.
It's a one-man band at this point, that being Miami.
It is. And one other game I wanted to talk about before we touch on baseball. Clemson, North Carolina. I think a coaching legend just died yesterday. I genuinely think a coaching legend just died.
Yeah, because there's a difference between coaching in the NFL and the NCAA. Certain coaches are successful in the NCAA, in which it doesn't translate to the NFL. Nick Saban, for example.
Yes.
For others, it's the opposite, where they're successful in the NFL, but not in the NCAA. And we're seeing this in real time with Bill Belichick. A highly successful NFL head coach, unfortunately, can't make this happen in the NCAA from what we're seeing. And even though UNC has 2 wins, it's not against really impressive competition. UNC and Clemson are 2 different tiers of program, as we're finding out. And Belichick is showing that even though he is successful in the NFL, that doesn't really translate much to the NCAA, because in the NCAA, you have to learn how to recruit talent. Fortunately,
Absolutely.
that hasn't come to pass for Belichick. And I think the game may have passed him by. There were signs dating back to his late Patriots tenure, but I think the game has completely passed him by.
Yeah, I think Belichick has seen better days, unfortunately. North Carolina is just bad defensively. They're horribly offensively horribly disciplined. Clemson, with Dabo Sweeney, they were just better. They just ran right through them. 38-10 was the final. It wasn't even close. And
good.
I honestly think the North Carolina athletic director is probably just thinking back to this and like, what did we just get ourselves into?
He fired Mac Brown for this.
Yeah, that was also a low blow. I didn't like it when they did that. They did Mac Brown dirty on that one.
Yet they completely disrespected him when they moved on from him and they hired Bill Belichick. That bridge is burned now.
Especially with the controversy surrounding Belichick and his girlfriend, it wasn't really like the writing was on the wall to begin with, but they were like, okay, let's see what happens on the field. Maybe it'll make up for it. Nope. Not at all. Tough one. Ouch. Yeah. That was very brutal. But also, you know, I want to give you an update right now on the Vikings-Browns game. It's 7-7 right now, second quarter, 12:30 left to go. But I do want to get into the MLB now, because the MLB, oh my God, I can go on this all day long. So The Major League Baseball playoffs were into the division series, one game in for all 4 division series. But I got to get into the wild card for a second because the wild card has been theater, to say the least. I didn't want to see Red Sox Yankees in the wild card, but that was a series that really warmed my heart so much. Actually, we'll get into that. So the Red Sox took game 1 off a pitcher duel between Garrett Crochet, who struck out 11 in 7 2/3 innings. Max Fried did well in 6 1/3, but the bullpen gave up, and the Red Sox won that game 3-1. Game 2, Carlos Rodon went 6 innings, gave up 3 runs, but the Red Sox ultimately lost 4-3, thanks to Jazz Chisholm finally being inserted back in lineup, and same with Ben Rice. And Jazz just flew around the bases like it was nobody's business in that game. And in his press conference, and I love this, he said, he was asked, how do you take your stress off of this? And he plays, I think I'll be the show and I mercy somebody.
There was flying from first to home in that 8th inning.
Like, that is 5 times as fast as I would have ran. I can't run that fast.
I mean, that so much speed, and it's clear he's easily the Yankees' best base runner.
100%. 100%. So that was game 2. Game 3. Oh, my God. So Cam Schlittler, who grew up 18 miles from Fenway Park, grew up a Red Sox fan, came in there and just shut them down in game 3. 8 innings, 12 strikeouts, no walks. And fun fact, the Red Sox only had 5 hits. Not one Red Sox reached third base the entire game. Yankees won that game 4-0.
Insane. Not only inserting himself into Yankee lore, but baseball lore itself, because those 12 strikeouts, that's the record now for the most strikeouts in a Yankee debut in the postseason.
Yes.
And not only that, first pitcher ever to go 8 innings without allowing a run or a walk and strike out at least 12 batters. Insane.
And it's nuts in this perspective because the Yankees offense was stone cold that entire series. They needed pitching help, and they got it from their 3 starters. The bullpen could be better. And then David Bednar came in the 9th and locked it down. So that was obviously a good sign. They saved their bullpen for yesterday's game, which I want to get into a little bit, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. The best part was Cam Schlittler not only dominated Boston on the mound, but on social media as well.
He really was that petty to Red Sox fans, was he?
So, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, after the game, Cam Schlittler posted on his Twitter account, he said, drinking that dirty water. And if you don't know what that reference is, so since 1997, the Boston Red Sox have played a song called Dirty Water, which is a song that they play after wins. This has been going on for like 30 years now. And then this guy, Matt, not me, who basically retweeted that and said, you're not from Boston. And then Cam Schlittler retweeted back. He said, I went to high school in Boston for 3 years, and I live in the South End in the offseason. Start preparing for Bruins season, homie.
Oh my goodness. That was a violation and a half.
Cold-blooded.
Yeah, cold-blooded, as he said. Is that he easily was the MVP of that series with that performance alone. To do this against your hometown team turned hated rival in a winner-take-all game, that's the stuff of legends. Now I'll give props to Connolly early for doing what he can do in filling in for an injured Lucas Giolito. But Alex Cora made the cardinal sin of managing in rotations and bullpens not once, but twice when he left early on the mound for way too long.
Yeah.
After the damage was done. Because he did this in game 2 with Garrett Whitlock, who is normally the Red Sox's best setup man for Aroldis Chapman.
Yes.
He left him on the mound for well too long, and in turn, made him unavailable for game 3. 47 pitches in that 8th inning. And he kept him on the mound for well after the damage was done. You wanted to finish him out? Well, you're only going to tax him and his arm. Well, granted, he can go multiple innings. But if he's the best setup man for Chapman, you can't leave him on the mound for too long. The Yankees, he's made him pay the price for both of that. But also, in that game 3, of course, the Yankees needed this win and not only with the pitching, but also to instill some confidence, because we know there is some unfinished business to speak of, because the Yankees, of course, you think about last year, and this is step one in a possible revenge tour. Now, granted, step two is taking out the Blue Jays, and I know for a fact that there's the possibility that every series that the Yankees could go through, if they were to go on another World Series, could involve them taking out a team that's at least one former Houston Astro. But we'll get into that later. The game 3, what I saw on that 4th inning was the walls being broken open and the game being turned upside down, especially after Nathaniel Lowe, who was a playoff hero with the Rangers 2 years ago, just gave Boston fans flashbacks of Bill Buckner in the World Series against the Mets. I mean, that was an easy catch, and it bobbled off his glove.
Yeah,
and it skips over to the outfield, 2-run score, and then what in the world did we just witness?
It was a very undisciplined and very uncharacteristic 4th inning by the Boston Red Sox, and the Yankees, all they need to do is just have great pitching the rest of the way, and they got it. And I'm glad that they got it done. They're facing the Blue Jays right now in the division series. Next series we're going to discuss, and this is actually one that I didn't think would go 3 games, but it did. We're going to go into the Padres and the Cubs. The Cubs took game 1 off of, and this is the theme for the entire series, great pitching, great pitching and timely hitting. That's the theme for that series. It was I think it was 3-1, I believe, in the game 1. Game 2, the Padres won 3-0. Game 3, this was a 3-1 game. Again, timely hitting was important, but there is something we must talk about in game 3. The Padres had, I think, a runner on first and second with 1 man away. They were trying to come back. They were down 3-1. And then Xander Bogaerts was up the bat. A pitch that was well below the knees was called strike 3 on a 3-2 count. Yep.
Next year, there's going to be a helmet tap. But no amount of complaining to the umpires will ever fix what happened in this series. It's not their fault that the Padres bats didn't show up at the timeliest moments. It's not the umpire's fault in which Dansby Swanson made key defensive play after key defensive play, or Nico Horner and Pete Crow Armstrong for that matter. It's not the umpire's fault that the starting rotation couldn't get at least 5 innings of work in any point of this series. You force a game 3, and you entrust the arm of a visibly washed up Yu Darvish on the mound.
Yes.
He couldn't even get out the first or second innings and left runners on bases. What did you expect from him? How did Michael King pitch just 1 inning all series long? Your bullpen can only do so much, but what's the point of having the best bullpen in the league if your bats can't click and if your starting rotation can't click? Last year was the Padres' shot.
Yeah.
This year was a slow motion car crash happening in real time. And I was not surprised that the Padres were going to be eliminated at some point. But this early, after another all-in push, now the question is, what do you do now? This was their last shot with this core. Even for Bogaerts being back at home in his shortstop position, his contract is still one of the worst in baseball. And there's no more trades that A.J. Preller can do to fix this. His over-aggressiveness and mismanagement of the farm system has come back to bite the Padres once again. If you think this is bad enough, just prepare for what's going to happen next. Luis Arias is going to be on his way out, and I think that may be for the better because all I can do is hit singles and play subpar defense, which does not bode well. Ryan O'Hearn, career year in Baltimore, didn't carry that to San Diego. All that power he had, gone. Robert Suarez, nice closer, but he's going to be 35 next year, and there's no chance he gets a long-term contract. And even if he comes back, there's a realistic possibility Mason Miller takes the closer role. I think it's for the best, though. You have Suarez as the high-leverage setup arm. I think that'll work best for you. Plus, you can't keep both of Dylan Cease and Michael King. And with the way Cease finished this year, I think Cease has played his last game as a Padre. But it shows they are really regretting trading away all of Mackenzie Gore, C.J. Abrams, and James Wood when
100%.
they landed Juan Soto.
Yeah, and they traded a bunch of their prospects going into the deadline. They traded a lot of their prospects away. Just to go all in now. Yeah, it was crazy. And now, the long term, they're screwed. Long term.
I mean, but I would be remiss if I didn't credit the Cubs in this. They arguably have the best defense in all of baseball. If Dansby Swanson, Nico Horner, dogs all series long. And so was Pete Crow Armstrong, who made the timeliest of hits in game 3 of this series, in which he didn't even record a single hit. But you can feel the energy with this core of Craig Counsell. And even though he appeared here in a game before even though Daniel Palencia appeared in a game before the 7th inning just once since June, he wasn't fazed by it. And Seiya Suzuki, he had a bounce back series here. He riding the ship at the right time, finding his power stroke. And how about Carson Kelly and Michael Busch?
The Chicago kid, Carson Kelly. It worked out so well. Listen, the Cubs won the series like they were supposed to. It went 3 games, which I was very surprised about. But, they took care of business, and now they're playing the Brewers. They lost game 1 yesterday. We'll get into that in a second. Big injury on the Brewers side, by the way. Like I said, we'll touch on that bridge. Next series we want to get into, and the Fighting Jake Hoggers came out victorious against the Guardians. The Tigers were coming in reeling into this wild card series. They blew a 15.5 game division lead that they had on July 8th. They came into the wild card. Tarek Skubal pitched 7 2/3 innings, struck out 14. My God, that guy's crazy. And then game 2, the Guardians bounced back offensively. They took game 2 6-1. And then game 3, Dylan Dingler put the Tigers up with a home run to put them on 2-1. They were up 6-1, and they never looked back. They won 6-3 to shock the Guardians and move on to the division series where they're taking on Seattle. All right. Tarek Skubal. That man probably had the best pitching performance of all the veteran pitchers that pitched in the wild card. 7 2/3, 14 Ks. My goodness.
Perhaps you could say that he had the best pitching performance, period, of the wild card round. And that includes when you take into account Cam Schlittler's outstanding night.
That's fair.
Yeah. But then again, who expected this? When the Tigers and Guardians came to the playoffs with the Tigers collapsing and the Guardians on hot momentum, we all came to the conclusion that the Guardians were going to just take care of business and put the Tigers out their misery. Well, it's been proven time and time again, Matt, that the word momentum is a really funny word in sports.
It is. It really
Anytime
is.
It's the playoffs, a slumping team like the Tigers can find a way to beat a red-hot team like the Guardians and get the last laugh on them, avenging last year's ALDS exit. And honestly, Detroit needed this series, even in the worst way possible. I mean, 15.5 game lead, gone. But then here's Tarek Skubal and Javi Baez to say, now everybody in the 3-1-3, I want you to put your hands up and follow me.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I also know that our friend Patrick Rush was also happy about this. He texted me, let's bleep and go, after the Tigers won that series. And they won game 1 in Seattle last night.
On a game in which they didn't record a single hit ever since the 5th inning when George Kirby was pulled, and then against Carlos Vargas in the 11th, they finally get a hit after Spencer Torkelson drew a walk. But there's no doubt that when Skubal takes the mound, the Tigers can steal a game, and they did that in game 1 against Cleveland. And it's not like Gavin Williams is bad. The two of them were in a pitcher's duel in that one.
Yeah, they were. It was.
Yeah, and postseasons are where unknown players can become legends with one swing. Brian Rocchio did that in game 2. But Dylan Dingler said, don't mind if I joined the party in game 3. And once these two had their home run moments, it was a rout onwards. But Will Vest, I want to give this man his flowers because ever since he took the reins as the Tigers closer, he's been electric. Now, he and Kyle Finnegan are technically co-closers of the Tigers, but it's mostly been Vest who's been handling the 9th innings. And he's been doing so effortlessly.
Yeah, Will Vest blew the save in the late in the regular season, and that's what cost the Tigers the first place. But he bounced back. Like, I'll put it this way: the postseason, you have to get there, and then it's 0-0. What you did in the regular season doesn't mean anything anymore once you get to the postseason. And the Tigers understood that, and they came into Cleveland and said, "We'll take that spot we'll take the AL Central crown that you took from us."
I mean, they stole that crown from them at the last moment, so they decided to take the crown right back. And,
take the crown right back.
And let me tell you the batting average of Javi Baez in that wild card round. For as great as he was defensively, his batting average against the Guardians was an otherworldly 4.55.
Oh my God.
4.55. That's an insane batting average.
If I'm correct, that's 5 for 11, I believe.
Yeah, 5 for 11.
My God.
Yeah, he played the series of his life. The same Javi Baez who was left off the Tigers postseason roster last year bounced back this year for a season that looks reminiscent to his years with the Cubs.
Right. That's right. Oh my God. So the Tigers took game 1. They got Terry Scoop on the mound in game 2, and then the Mariners will be setting up Luis Castillo. Should be a fun pitching matchup.
You know, I think we completely underestimated the Mariners-Tigers series because at the very best we were thinking Mariners in 4, but given that the Tigers stole game 1, I think a 5-game series is up for grabs.
Well, Seattle would have to definitely bounce back because one thing that the Mariners can't do is go 0-2 in this series at home and then travel back to Detroit.
They cannot go down 0-2 in this series because Schoolboy has the capability to steal a game for the Tigers. And we've seen that in game 1 against Cleveland. And
right.
If Detroit goes up 2-0, I think the Tigers are in the best spot possible to advance.
Yeah, they will be in cruise control. And then the last series, this was the least appealing of all 4 wild card series, the Reds and the Dodgers. The Dodgers won 2 lopsided games. They won 12-4, and then they won 8-4 in those 2 games. Although I will say, Dodgers bullpen, it got really interesting at times. It wasn't like the Reds weren't going to win this series. But it did get a little bit interesting, especially when the Reds were down 8-2, and they scored 2 in I think the 7th or 8th to put them down 8-4, and then they had the bases loaded with 2 away, and they come up empty. That was game 2. Game 1 was a little bit of a different story. They were down 10-2, and the Dodgers bullpen gave up 3 runs to make it 10-5, and then they kind of the door just got closed on them.
Oh yeah. We knew the Dodgers were going to win this from the start. Though I had the feeling that the Reds still were going to steal a game here, but that's all they could really do if they were to win 1. But they were going to win 1 maximum. It didn't happen, though.
No.
But Teoscar Hernandez had the most RBIs in this series. And, hey, playoff Kike Hernandez is back.
Yep.
Not the best regular season performer, but the reason why he's wearing Dodger blue is for October. That's why they put him in the lineup for this month. And that's honestly for the best because Michael Conforto, he's a shell of himself at this point. So I was not surprised when they put Alex Call on the lineup for game 1 against the Phillies. But run scoring, 8 unanswered runs in both games from the Dodgers. It's clear that the talent differential is there because the Dodgers have arguably the deepest batting lineup, not just in the National League, but possibly the entire MLB, even for them having competition with the Yankees, Phillies, and maybe even the Mets, even for the Mets missing the playoffs. Worse for the Reds was that not only did Blake Snell dominate, but Yoshinobu Yamamoto followed suit.
Yep.
And both of them each had 9 strikeouts, pitching 7 innings. The Dodgers bullpen, that was interesting, but perhaps they found an answer. They put Roki Sasaki as their closer, and it worked.
And you want to know something? You mentioned the Roki Sasaki thing. That was one thing that my good pal Lauro Antonio, who's a diehard Dodge fan, told me about that was going to be a possibility. Roki Sasaki has done iffy as a starter, but it seems to me that his calling card is as a closer. Because when Sasaki goes fewer innings, he's more dominant. And if you see what Tanner Scott has done in the regular season, Tanner Scott might not be the answer at closer. So I think that putting Sasaki as the closer might be the only way the Dodgers can have success with their bullpen.
Yeah. He was excellent as a setup man last year with the Padres when he was acquired by them, setting up for Robert Suarez.
Yes.
He and Jason Adam being setup men. Having Scott as a setup man will be more ideal for him at this point. Have Sasaki be the closer, because there's a long future ahead for Sasaki. But at this point, put him as the closer. He's your go-to guy there.
Yeah, it's that's how I see it going. Now, I did get a message. Kevin Zelikovic should be joining us shortly. 10 o'clock in the morning. That's it's a little erratic with the starting schedule. Like I said, conflict, but I'm making it work. So we'll get into the division series right now. I think we'll just set it really quick before Kevin comes on. Yankees and Blue Jays. Blue Jays won that first game 10-1. Yankees were swinging every first pitch they could find and looking like idiots in the process. The Tigers and Mariners. Tigers won 3-2 in 11 innings. We had like a hypothetical under and over as to how that would go, as far as how many innings that would go. But the Tigers won in 11 innings. Kerry Carpenter dominated again, as mentioned before. The Dodgers won 5-3 in Philadelphia.
Ooh. Breathe. Because I know Philadelphians are not happy with this result.
No, they're not.
They were wondering, why is our bullpen collapsing again in the playoffs? We don't want to relive the same nightmares as last year. Well, it just happened. The Dodgers down 3-0, facing Christopher Sanchez at one of the loudest ballparks in the MLB, at risk of dropping game one. Bo Fernandez has delivered that time. Tyler Glass now pitched out the bullpen, which is strange because this is his first appearance coming out of a bullpen in 7 years.
Oh my God.
That doesn't seem real. That was more on the strength of the Dodgers' depth more than the stars showing out. And they showed that depth is a big piece of the hallmark for postseason runs.
Yeah. And another thing, too, Shohei Ohtani also pitched. He was the starting pitcher for this game. It was the first time he ever had a postseason start at pitcher. And he did really well. He pitched 6 innings, allowed the 3 runs, but he struck out 9 batters in 89 pitches. Ohtani did well. And it's funny because I had a Philadelphia fan text me and say, I'm nervous about this game one because it's going to set the tone. And that's the number one thing I want people to understand when it comes to these best of 5, best of 7 series. Game one is forever and will be a tone setter. Because that first game, if you steal one on the road, you're putting pressure on the higher seed to win. If you win that first game as the home team, okay, you win the second game. But you have a little bit of mojo in your veins. You want to keep that going. And unfortunately, the Dodgers did that to the Phillies, and then the Tigers did that to the Mariners, where the crowds were pumped up. You take the momentum and the mojo out of their veins. And that's exactly what happened.
And you mentioned about that Tigers-Mariners game. There were several times in which there were balls that looked like home runs, but once again, T-Mobile Park is a pitcher-friendly ballpark. Morning, Kev.
Morning.
What's up, guys?
Not much, buddy. We were actually getting into baseball a little bit. We were going to talk about the Division Series Game 1s last night. I got Alec's perspective on a lot of things. I want to get to your thoughts real quick before we get back to the Division Series. I want to get your thoughts on Cam Schlittler's performance because I know that performance amazed you significantly.
Oh, dude, I literally could not believe what I saw from Cam Schlittler. Actually, I was like half watching and half doing my own thing because I was, as you know, I was calling a game that day.
Correct. Yeah.
I really couldn't believe it. So just to give you, I wrote down some like notes on the side to like just to give you guys a bit of a detail of like how historic that start was. So to give you perspective, that's the first time since first of all for the series. That's the first time since 2003 the Yankees beat the Red Sox in the postseason series since Aaron Boone's famous walk-off homer in Game 7 against Wakefield in the 2003 ALCS. And Cam Schlittler's final line was 8 innings pitched, 5 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 12 Ks, 107 pitches, 75 of them being strikes, which is unbelievable. The first pitcher in MLB postseason history with 8+ scoreless innings pitched, 12 or more strikeouts, and 0 walks. That's incredible. Most strikeouts by a Yankees pitcher in their first career postseason game. Most strikeouts in a winner-take-all game in MLB postseason history.
Yep.
And 12 strikeouts is tied for third with El Duque or Orlando Hernandez when he did it in the 2000 World Series Game 3 in the Yankees' history for most strikeouts in a postseason game. And the last time a Yankees pitcher threw for 8 or more innings, 0 runs, and 12 strikeouts was Roger Clemens in Game 4 of the 2000 ALCS on the road against the Mariners, where he pitched a complete game, allowed only 1 hit, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 15 strikeouts. So Clemens has the most strikeouts in a postseason game in Yankees history. So Schlittler is third in that list, but behind in that list. And also a big thing to note: Yankees became the first team to win a wild card series after losing Game 1 since the new format was implemented in 2022. Teams were 0-15. Losing Game 1 before that. So that is as historic as it gets for Cam Schlittler. I'm so proud of him because keep in mind, this kid was pitching in Double-A to start the season. Wasn't even a thought to get on the roster this season. And to think, we were thinking about trading this guy at the trade deadline for a starting pitcher when Clark Schmidt went down. To see what he was able to do against the Boston Red Sox in an elimination game is unbelievable. In one word, to say the least. I'm so proud of Cam Schlittler, and I cannot wait to see his next start. Hopefully he gets a start if the Yankees can get into Game 4.
Yeah, they lost yesterday 10-1 against the Blue Jays. We were touching on the divisional games a little bit. I mentioned quite a bit about Detroit, Seattle. I mentioned Philadelphia, Dodgers quite a bit. I want to touch on the Blue Jays and Yankees now. Kevin and I were saying this over and over and over again. Not working the counts, swinging at the first pitch, and just not consistent base running. And we're waiting for Giancarlo Stanton to pop off, and he hasn't popped off yet. This was the series where he needs to step up, and he hasn't done that. Kevin Gausman, for what it's worth, pitched well because of terrible at-bats. And Luis Gil allowed those 2 home runs to put them down 2-0. The Yankees had the bases loaded with I think 1 out at one point after they scored the 1 run, I think in the 4th inning. And then the wheels just came off.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. is playing like a man possessed in Toronto. I don't know if this is his first playoff series or if he played in the postseason before, but his first time in the division series, he homered. Alejandro Kirk, first division series for him, 2 homers. It's clear that these two and George Springer, they're the best batters on Toronto. We might not be seeing 3 batters batting over 300 on the year in a while on the same team, but that's the reality with the Toronto Blue Jays. They don't strike out. They like to put the ball in play. And what we saw in this game, they did both.
Yeah, my thing is the Blue Jays are still a young team. They don't have Bo Bichette this postseason. Well, Bo Bichette was left off the ALDS roster. So is Chris Bassett, amazingly. A guy the Yankees have struggled against all of this year. So the fact that he was left off was kind of a shocker. Yankees have Game 2 now. They're going to send Max Fried back up to the mound, who pitched well in Game 1 of the Wild Card series. I don't have the Blue Jays starter in front of me. Let me take a quick look.
Trey Yesavage.
I'll do Trey Savage. Ooh.
Yeah, Trey
another
Savage.
rookie.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting. We've seen quite a few rookie pitchers that play so far this postseason when it comes to the wild card. We saw, obviously, Cam Schlittler. We saw Conley early and now Trey Savage.
Starting on game 2 of all things. Now, for Savage, I think starting him game 2 in front of his home crowd, I think that's better for him because you feed off the energy of your home crowd as opposed to putting the rookie out there on the mound on the road. I think this works out better because you want to leave the veterans to having starts on the road if you're the Blue Jays. So starting Shane Bieber on game 3 makes more sense in that regard.
And it's funny you mentioned it because you mentioned having your rookie pitcher start at home for his first playoff game. That's what Cam Schlittler did, and it worked and it paid dividends. So we'll see what happens here. Bottom line, we'll see if Trey Savage can drink that dirty water, like Cam Schlittler says on social media.
Schlittler's one petty man.
Drink that dirty water.
I love it, dude. I absolutely love it. I love it.
Another thing I want to get into, we didn't touch on the Cubs and Brewers. We're going to touch on that right now. The Fighting Lily Schumachers won 9-3 at home against Chicago. Although there is a little bit of a concern for the Brewers as Jackson Chourio, their young outfielder sensation, left the game with a hamstring injury. It was the same hamstring injury that took him out of action for about a month. And he came over to the dugout in obvious pain. X-rays were still waiting on a word of what's going to happen with Jackson Chourio. The Brewers put up 6 runs in the first inning, though, and they put up 3 in the second. They were just dominant the whole way through. Freddie Peralta started slow but finished strong in 5 2/3. This was a very good performance for the Brewers, but now obviously the concern has to be your young star outfielder. Kevin, I'm going to come to you. If Jackson Chourio were to miss this series, how big of a blow would this be for the Brewers?
It's a big blow, Matt, because Jackson Chourio has been one of the best players on that Milwaukee Brewers squad, and like he's one of the big reasons why they even got the 1 seed in the first place. So obviously it would be a big blow to this group. I think that Chourio is obviously one of the best players that they got. And I think that if Chourio goes down, you're going to see a different, all the guys step up on that Brewers squad, like whoever it may be. Because even when Chourio went out of the game, I mean, Brewers, I think, were continuing to play some good baseball, both offensively and defensively, because it was a clear like butt whooping by the Brewers. Against the Cubs. So I think that guys will step up if Chourio is unable to unable to play for the rest of this postseason. I hope that it's not as serious to where like if he misses time, it'll just be for this series. And if the Brewers were to advance, then he would come back for the NLCS if that's possible. But obviously, if it misses more time than that, then that's very concerning.
Alec, what do you think?
Same thing, English, what Kevin said, that if he misses more time, then the Brewers need to search for internal options just to fill in that outfield, because we know Christian Yelich is a full-time designated hitter right now. That outfield, though, everybody needs to step up. Isaac Collins has had a career year, but they need production from everywhere else. Sal Frelick, another player who's had a career year. Who's going to step into that hole where Chourio is at over at the outfield? Could they use Jake Bowers or Blake Perkins for that matter?
Yeah.
Garrett Mitchell's on the 60-day injured list, so he's not going to be on the roster anytime soon. It's going to be between Bowers and Perkins for that matter, but if he's out long-term, this concern level is starting to climb up. But if he's going to be out for a short while, okay, don't panic. It's not the end of the world.
I think if Jackson Chourio can't come back for this Cubs series, I think the Brewers will be fine against the Cubs. This is just me talking. I think they'll be fine. It's if they face the Phillies or Dodgers, which I hope it's Philly because I can't stand. But like anyway, I think like Blake Perkins could be a good one. Jake Bowers has had some good games in the past. Although postseason baseball is much different than a regular season game, and Jake Bauer is also a former Yankee. Kevin,
right.
Yeah. So. Listen, I think the Brewers are going to be fine. I just think that if they do make it to the NLCS, they need to press a little bit of caution, a little bit of panic, because your young star is what got you here. And they say dance with the one that brought you. And Jackson Chourio is that guy. Now, admittedly, the Brewers, one of the things I love about this Brewers team, they could put the ball in play. They don't always rely on the home run ball. They work their walks. They work the counts. And Like that's one of this is a complete team. Although Jackson Churio does a little bit of everything, and that's why it's kind of detrimental to have him gone. But like I said, I think the Brewers will be fine.
Yeah, they will. This is going to be a toss-up of a series, but we imagine the Brewers are going to take this and move on to the NLCS. The Cubs, they'll be fine too.
And also, if you're a certain person on social media and you're buying pocket pancakes to try and curse the Brewers, you're kind of out of your mind. And Kevin might know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I saw what you posted. Yeah.
That's out of pocket.
All right, so that's basically all the division series, and then game 2 of the Tigers. Well, I mentioned Tigers and Mariners. We got Luis Castillo versus Tarek Skubal. That should be a dandy for the Tigers Mariners series. We mentioned Yankees Blue Jays tomorrow for the NLDS series. Dodgers and Phillies. We got Blake Snell versus Jesus Luzardo, and then for Cubs Brewers, we're gonna have they don't have the pitching matchups up yet, but I'm assuming that for the Brewers, they're probably going to put up Quinn Priester, I believe, or it could be Jacob Mizorowski. Like I said, they don't have the pitching matchups just yet, which is very, very odd to me. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking the Brewers are going to go that route. But anyway, we have a little over an hour left. I think this is the perfect time to go over fantasy before we get into our spread picks and other news across the NFL. Also, if you want an update on the Vikings and Browns game in London, the Browns are driving their second and goal in the second quarter, less than 5 minutes to go, and it's still 7-7. Actually, 16 seconds to go, third and goal. So we might just do a little play-by-play here. We had Dylan Gabriel making his first start. He's in the gun from the 9-yard line. No backs. 2 receivers to right and left, and a timeout is called. Perfect time to go into fantasy now. So, I am playing Jake Hogger, or Motor City Kitties, who took his first loss in fantasy. Well, actually, both Jake and I took our first losses of the year last week. Lily Schumacher and Love Shack whoop my ass. And Motor City Kitties, John did some pretty good damage on Jake. And then Kevin narrowly escaped, giving Bama Girl Underdog her first win. And then Alec beat Ritos pretty good. Oh, no, barely by 5 points. If you're a Jamar Chase or T. Higgins fantasy owner, God help you.
Ooh.
Yep.
Not looking good in Cincinnati, that's to say the least.
That wouldn't be good at all. And then another penalty flag is called out. Okay, so we're going to go into this week's matchups. I'm firmly grasp it, who's 3-1 right now, is playing Motor City Kitties. Here's my starting lineup. Puka Nacua got me 24.5. I have Justin Herbert, Javonte Williams, Derrick Henry, who I got via trade from Bama Girl. I got Garrett Wilson, Jake Ferguson, Breece Hall, and Brandon Aubrey. Motor City Kitties got 3.5 so far from TJ Hawkinson and 8 from the Browns D. He's got Josh Allen, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kenneth Walker, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Quentin Johnston, Emeka Ibuka, and Cam Dicker, the kicker. And then we'll go into the Blue Blurs. We're taking on Bama Girl Underdog. Devontae Adams did good, 13.8 points. You got Drake May. I don't know how you got that.
Free agency.
Through the waiver wire. Okay. Drake May, Ashton Jansen, who's finally starting to pop off. James Cook, A.J. Brown, Sam Laporta, Tony Pollard, Texans D, and Tyler Loop. And then we go to the hash slinging. No, not the hash slinging slashers.
By the way, the Browns kicked the field goal.
They kicked the field goal. Yeah, I'm just seeing it right now. I guess you're ahead of me compared to the TV. You got Pat Mahomes going. You got Jonathan Taylor going today. You have Keenan Allen, Tyler Warren, Chris Godwin, Chiefs D, and Spencer Schrader. All I know is Love Shack got 31 points from Kyron Williams already on Thursday night.
But the good thing for me is her best players are on a bye week this week.
That's right. Bijan, Josh Jacobs, and Drake London are all on byes.
So I dodged all of them.
You dodged bullets. If Love Shack wins this week, God help us all.
I can
honestly
imagine.
thought that I was going to be a threat this year, but then Lily whoops my ass the way she did, and I'm like, I'm in trouble.
Well, yeah, and the reason why I'm starting Pollard is because Jalen Warren and Rome Odunze are on bye.
Yeah, this is the first week of buys, by the way, in fantasy. So if you have players on buys in week 5, try to have good substitutes. I personally picked up in one of my leagues. I have Justice Hill, especially because of Derrick Henry's lack of production, and he fumbles a lot.
Yeah.
So if
I
you're
have
looking,
Harley too.
yeah, if you want to have a solid option, I would absolutely 100% recommend picking up a guy like Justice Hill, or if you're someone hurt like Tyreek Hill or Malik Neighbors, I'd pick up like maybe Darius Slayton, or even if you have like a Jalen Waddle on the waiver wire in an 18 league, or even the rapper Darren Waller could be a good choice.
The rapper.
The rapper. Hey, listen, his music is not that bad.
No, it's not, but still.
Oh,
Oh my god! All right, so we're going into halftime. Browns are up 10-7. Kind of a shocker there. We'll go back to my agenda here.
well, not really to me because I think this game is a trap game for the Vikings.
It probably could be tried to. Well, this is their second consecutive game internationally. I think people need to understand that.
Oh, especially because you probably influenced me to do one of these ways, but probably because they're in London this day.
Oh, they're in London. That's right. I forgot about that.
Oh,
So they're going to go to the locker
I
room now
apologize.
and sip some tea in the locker room and come up with a strategy.
what have we gotten ourselves into?
I need my guys, Quinshawn Judkins and Jefferson, to give more than what they're doing.
Dude, I'm hoping to God that the Viking defense wakes up a little bit more, because right now the projection, which I know Kevin doesn't like to look at, the projection is like 52-48 me. Thank God Puka Nacua outperformed a little bit. Oh, man. So anyway, we're coming towards the end of the first hour, and what that means is typically we talk about one of our sponsor for this, DAS Technology Consulting. So DAS Technology Consulting is a company that's been around for almost 30 years, and they help you out with your IT infrastructure needs. If you want to know more, go to www.dasconsulttech.com. Darren Sirianni is the guy behind this company. He's been committed to giving you your best IT infrastructure needs. And if you want to know more, take a listen.
Our approach at DAS Technology is simple. At DAS Technology, we offer a very unique approach by providing our clients a single point of contact for all their mission-critical data center demands. DAS Technology Consulting is a global leader in data center services, specializing in delivering cutting-edge, best-of-breed enterprise solutions. With a focus on innovation and reliability, DAS provides worldwide storage, server, and networking solutions that are tailored to meet the evolving demands of the modern data-driven world.
And again, thank you, DAS Technology Consulting, for sponsoring. We greatly appreciate your support. But anyways, we're in hour number 2. This is going to be an all NFL hour. We even have Fresh Fine or Fry. We're going to get into Thursday Night Football's game between the Niners and Rams. We're going to get into, like we mentioned, Malik Neighbors and Tyreek Hill's injuries being out for the year. Jackson Dart shined in his debut, which we did not get into, but we'll finally get into that. And then the Baltimore Ravens are in an uncharacteristic 1-3 start. All that coming in hour number 2. So obviously we're going to get back into NFL here. I want to get into the Jackson Dart of it all. His rookie debut came last week at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. Dart had 50-plus yards rushing and 50-plus yards passing. The kid was good. I'm not going to say he was world-breaking, but he did everything he needed to help this team win. And I think the number one thing for me, Kevin, and I think you might agree with this, the offense looks like it flows better with him than it did Russell Wilson.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you said, Matt. I mean, like, he played great, not world beating or anything like that. He did what he needed to do. He was able to utilize his legs. The first touchdown he got was a nice 15-yard rushing touchdown right up the middle, and it fired the crowd up. And I think it fires the team up. I think there's just a different sort of chemistry that Jackson Dart has whenever he's in there, as opposed to when Russell Wilson was in there. And also, like, I just feel like that his energy brings out the best in the rest of his players, like him, Scattaboo,
Yeah.
when Tracy went down, Scattaboo had to be the guy to step up, and he was great. Like in that game, like he really, him and Dart are the two core pieces that I think are going to lead the Giants to like this new era. And even though the Malik Neighbors went down, obviously you guys have got to step up, whether that's going to be Darius Slayton or what have you. But yeah, Jackson Dart did what he needed to do. Didn't turn the ball over. Didn't make errant passes. Got out of the pocket when pressure was coming. Wasn't afraid to utilize his legs. Wasn't afraid that he's still going back to his college days in that game where he's like mowing people over and throwing a stiff arm in somebody's face, like get out of here.
Yeah.
And like, dude, slide, please. I don't want to get yourself. We don't need you hurt too. Just like we just lost Malik Neighbors. Slide once in a while. But anyway, Jackson Dart played great. Like I'm not denying that. I do think that our offensive line played better because especially with Andrew Thomas healthy, this offensive line is way different when he's healthy because I think the line give Dart plenty of time to throw the ball or run out of the pocket and do whatever he needed to do. Our defensive line, I think, was great. Our secondary, I think, could use a little bit of work. I'm looking at Tyler Nubin as guys that, like, they need some work. But I still love what Drew Phillips has been doing all year. I think Drew Phillips has been our best secondary player by far so far this season. But overall, I'm liking the new Giants with Jackson Dart at the forefront. And that's a tough Chargers defense that they beat. That's a tough Chargers team that they beat. And nobody had the Giants winning that. All of us, ourselves included, because we all played it safe when we played our spread picks. But I was saying right after I said my pick, nothing would make me more happy than for me to be dead wrong and for Jackson Dart to flourish. And that's exactly what he did. I'm so proud of that kid.
I am proud of him. I mean, listen, they kept the playbook simple for him. Mm-hmm. And in your rookie debut, that's what you're kind of going to expect. You're going to expect nothing crazy. You're going to expect simplistic, maybe quarterback draws. The kid needs to learn how to slide. I mean, this is like protect yourself, kid. Last thing we want is you getting hurt. And Malik Neighbors, we mentioned his injury really quick. He was going up in the air for a pass, and as he was going up in the air and coming back down, you saw the knee pop. And whenever you see a knee pop on a non-contact injury, I think we all know what that means. And it came true. He tore his ACL.
Yeah, I didn't want that to be true. I know Alec was alluding to it, like as the play happened, and I'm like, don't say that, Alec. Like, come on, we need him. And then I was like, he's probably right, dude. I'm like, I don't want it to be true, but like, it just sucks, man. Because like, of course, because with the Giants, nothing can ever like go right in their way. Like it's like you almost feel like you can't even enjoy the win, against a really good team because of that loss to Malik Neighbors. But then if you're the Giants, you just got to move on. You have to find a guy that is going to at least try to replicate a decent Neighbors-like performance because you can't really replace a guy like Neighbors. You really can't.
No.
He's that special of a talent. And like I saw the other day that I was thinking, maybe they elevate little Jordan Humphrey from the practice squad because he had a great preseason showing. And I found out that they're not going to do that. They're just going to look internally, and they're probably going to have maybe Darius Slayton or even Bo Collins elevated from the practice squad. He had a good preseason too, so maybe he comes into the forefront. I don't know. But guys like him, Wandale Robinson have all got to step up, like whoever it may be, Theo Johnson, maybe Chris Manhurst, another tight end we have. All hands are on deck for as far as our receiving core goes because Neighbors has been the main target for whoever is the quarterback. So.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Giants are going to have a huge hole and void in their offense without Malik Neighbors. But I think Cam Scattaboo is going to be a beast today.
Oh, he's incredible.
I'm calling it right now. The guy's going to do 2 backflips today. And I think you know what that means.
I do know what that means, yes.
Oh, boy.
I'm calling it right now. If you want fantasy advice, Cam Scattaboo will score 2 touchdowns.
I
to the bank.
I was so mad whenever I was trying to pick him up. Like as soon as he had that game, I'm like, somebody picked him up. I'm like, dang it, okay, because that's a good fantasy pick, Cam Scattaboo. If you guys want him,
yeah, absolutely. Like that's the guy that you want. And having a bruiser back like that is great because he fights for extra yards. Like it's great. Oh man. Anyway, Alec, what did you make of what you saw from Jackson Dart?
Jackson, it was a different offense with Jackson Dart under center for the New York Giants. That he can avoid pressure, that he can and run around to extend plays. Ace, if you want to know something, he's the first quarterback since Patrick Mahomes to lead his team to an 80-plus yard touchdown drive on the first drive of his first career start.
Wow.
That's a tone setter for the Giants. And you want tone setters, the tone's set. This offense looks better with him on the field and commanding the offense under center. Cam Scatterboo is gaining confidence of every game. And there's a realistic chance that he finishes the year as RB1 of the Giants.
Absolutely.
You can really see it. I think the Giants, they're taking a change of pace with him. And if they carry on with him, I think they'll be in games. Malik, even for the Malik Neighbors injury stinging, I think they're going to keep pace.
I hope so. And I think that there's a lot to come for the Giants. I think today you're going to see Jackson Dart probably go off. That's just a bold prediction from me. And I'm actually kind of glad they brought him in last week because you set the tone, you got him acclimated to the offense, and now game 2 against the Saints, a weaker team, you might perform better.
Quick note. You know what I find insulting? So beforehand, before the spreads came out, they had the Giants as a 2.5-point favorite against the Saints. Now the spread is that the Saints are a 1.5-point favorite. I find that insulting after the performance that Jackson Dart and the Giants had against the Chargers, who are undefeated, and they have the Saints now as a 1.5-point favorite when they're 0-4. Like I find that insulting.
That's a 4-point swing, and that's very disrespectful, like you said. The Saints haven't done hoo-ha ever since the season began.
My guess is that they kept up to a Bills team that's bad defensively, but still.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't, no.
All right. So we're going to get into fresh spread soon, but now is the time we go into our winners and losers for week 3, or week 4, rather. Kevin, who is your winner and loser for week 4?
Okay, so for week 4, like there were a ton of games to cover for week 4. Let me pull up the scores real quick. Hold on.
Sure, no problem.
In front of me. 1 second.
Take your time.
Okay, here we go. So winners, I would say definitely the Giants because of what all the reasons I just said before. Because let's face it, absolutely nobody, including us, even the experts and analysts, didn't have the Giants winning that game because of obvious reasons. The Chargers are a damn good team. They have a great defense. They have a great quarterback, a great receiving core, which Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen really do flourishing. And the Giants, when you add Jackson Dart, nobody thought that Jackson Dart was going to actually lead his team to victory. Daniel Jones did it in his first game as a Giant, and Jackson Dart does it as his first game as a Giant. So I really think that the Giants are going to be an actual decent team going forward with Jackson Dart. We're going to see when the Philadelphia games come out, but that's my winner for week 4. My loser for week 4 is definitely they've got to be the Ravens because I thought that like there was absolutely no way that Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and that core was going to let themselves fall to 1-3 to the Chiefs, who I think are one of the most overrated teams this year.
Yeah,
but they look so bad against the Chiefs, and they made Pat Mahomes look like nothing went wrong, and then they made Lamar Jackson look like a bad quarterback. And he got hurt later in the game, and then like a different quarterback had to come in, and that wasn't good. And I know Baltimore is just banged up and bruised with injuries, but you cannot allow yourselves to have this kind of performance against a team that you've seen and know well, and are also probably going to face sometime into the playoffs. And if you would have told me that the Baltimore Ravens would have had the same record as the New York Giants after week 4, I would have told you you're absolutely crazy. So definitely, I would say Giants are the winners, and the Ravens are my losers for week 4.
Okay, Alec, same question. Who is your winner of week 4, and who's your loser for week 4?
All right, winner of week 4, and I can't believe I'm saying this after what happened and this, but what did we just witness on Sunday night? One of the greatest tie games of all time.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Ties are stupid in the NFL.
They are.
And I feel a 2-point shootout would be much better than in a tie ball game. But winner, absolutely the Dallas Cowboys. They had to feel better than the Green Bay Packers for the effort that they put up. This was supposed to be a revenge game of Micah Parsons. Well, it turned out to be an offensive shootout because I feel like we may have crowned the Packers way too soon here.
Maybe.
Why we play the games. Dak Prescott, the ultimate winner here, Dallas, especially Dak Prescott and George Pickens. With CeeDee Lamb out, Dak rallied his team back to lead this to an offensive shootout. There were no punts ever since the opening drive of the second half. That's how crazy that game was. Before this game, the Cowboys were 0-3 without CeeDee Lamb. But Pickens had the game of his life. 8 passes, is caught, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he had one of the most insane grabs that just won up by Jalen Tolbert in overtime. But this game showed that Dak Prescott is still a top 10 QB in the league. The Packers offense got into this lights out show, but it was the Cowboys that stole the show at the last moment. My loser for week 4, not a particular team, but I'm going to go to a specific player, Adonai Mitchell.
Oh, yeah.
In particular, he might just near single-handedly cost the Colts a win. The Colts, they had no answer for Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua. Of course, Puka is talented here and there, but the Colts had this win on the grasp. That was until A.D. Mitchell fumbled the ball at the 1-yard line trying to high step into the end zone, but he was celebrating way too early. Learn from Jonathan Taylor. Hold on to the ball. You have to firmly grasp it. I mean, the Rams had the right game plan. Don't get me wrong. But the Colts shot themselves in the foot way too many times. It's not even funny. 11 penalties. 2 of the and one of them in particular from Mitchell himself erased a touchdown run from Taylor. When he committed offensive holding to undo a touchdown run. What are you doing, kid? You have to stay disciplined in here. You're not having to freely do whatever around. You got to play the game, everyone. Hello.
Just lack of discipline. And honest to God, I've seen Deshaun Jackson do the same thing where he lets go of the ball before crossing the goal line. I've seen Leon fumble the ball before crossing the goal line. Like, hold on to the ball and then once you cross the plane, then you can drop the ball and do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Don't prematurely celebrate.
Yeah, gotta be more disciplined than that.
Bad. Okay, so my winner for week 4 is going to be the Chicago Bears because they got the win that they absolutely needed to prove that the Cowboy game was not a fluke. They played really well. Caleb Williams just keeps getting better and better and better. If you look at his stat line, he had 212 yards, but you know what? The guy would not throw 200 yards in a game easily. It took him a long time, but I like the way this Bears offense is performing. 25 points is a lot of points, especially against the Raider team. I would also say the Jaguars are a winner of mine, especially the allegations they're taking against the 49ers for sign stealing, which, okay. But, I mean, come on now. My loser is actually going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because the Buccaneers were a team that had the Eagles' number in recent years. They lose a close one at home, and now all of a sudden you see here come the Falcons, and I think their division hopes are kind of starting to slip away a little bit. I know they don't have Mike Evans for a couple weeks, but I think this next month is going to be really a battle test for the Buccaneers. And right now, I think, to me, that they're going to be a team to watch for the next month, and I think the Falcons are right on their heels. All right. So I would originally get into Thursday Night Football. We'll do that really quickly because we got to get into fresh spreads and then fresh fine and fried. So Thursday Night Football, the San Francisco 49ers and Rams battled to overtime with the Niners won 26-23. The Niners had a key fumble at the goal line by Kyron Williams to force it to overtime. The Niners with Mac Jones no Brock Purdy, no Juwan Jennings, no Ricky Pearsall, and they pull off the overtime when the Rams went for it on 4th and short in overtime to try and win it outright instead of going for the tie and have another tie, which I get the strategy, but it cost the Rams dearly as they lose 26-23. So, Alec, we're going to start with you first. What'd you make of what happened in overtime?
Mac Jones had one of the best performances of his career. DT, how people call Kyle Shanahan a QB whisperer. This game proves it. That Jones, he threw for 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, led for a game-winning field goal drive in overtime. Christian McCaffrey still is the workhorse, but this performance from Jones has to be impressive given the fact that Juwan Jennings is hurt. Ricky Pearsall is hurt. The Niners basically had a receiver core that comprised of 2 former Kansas City Chiefs on it, DeMarcus Robinson and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. The other one being Kendrick Bourne, who Jones was teammates with the New England Patriots early in his career. And the two were back on the same page again. 10 in connections, 142 yards on 11 targets. Jay Tongs stepped up with 7 catches of his own and a touchdown in place of the injured George Kittle. We saw more utilization of Robinson and Kyle Juszczyk in this game. The Niners, they were limping, and they were ailing headed to SoFi. But looks are deceiving. They found the energy to take control of this game. And shout out to Alfred Collins, their rookie defensive lineman, their other defensive line pick in this year's draft, where he stripped Kyron Williams of the ball at the goal line and recovered it at the edge of the goal line. Filling it, and while the defense is also getting more injuries, they lost Kalia Davis and Yetur Gross-Matos to injuries, but they're still filling in strong in a big way. And they're holding the Rams to just 3 points on the final 4 possessions. Just 1 field goal. That field goal from Josh Carty that sent it to overtime. And if I'm the Rams here, well, their special teams concerns are still lingering on because the Rams, they have one of the worst special teams units in the league. But this is a new low. I can't count how many field goals they had blocked on the year, but it might have been at least 2. Wow. There were 2 against the Eagles, and then you have 1 here. And if this issue isn't fixed, we need to have a discussion about the Rams special teams because, Maron, it cannot go for this long here. I get the logic going for it on 4th and 1. It's logical because Cardi missed 2 field goals. And you could say that
a key extra point too.
Yeah, the special teams really cannot be trusted for the Rams. So I get where McVay is coming from going for it on 4th and 1, but ball security has to be a discussion for the Rams because Kyron Williams, for as solid as he had a fantasy day, there may have to be discussions on whether or not the Rams want to have a tandem utilization of him and Blake Corum more and more.
Yeah,
but this does not look good for ball security measures. Hold on to the ball.
Seriously, hold on to the ball. Yeah. Kevin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Ball security is definitely a major issue with the Los Angeles Rams, but also credit to the Niners for able to get out the win. That stop on 4th and 1 for the Niners. I call my dad's a Niners fan, and like he was watching the game with me, and I think as soon as it went to overtime, he's like, okay, I'm going to bed. Good night, son. And he's like, okay, good night. I'm gonna stay and watch and see how the game ends. And he's like Niners are gonna lose. And then when I told him that they won in the morning, he was like, no way. And I was like, yeah, they stopped them at the 4th and 1. And am I crazy to suggest that Mac Jones has been playing better than Brock Purdy? Have the Niners just played overall better when Mac Jones is the quarterback than Brock Purdy? Am I crazy to believe that?
No, you're not. You're not.
Because this is a guy that we all thought that after he left the Patriots, we were going to call him a bust, and he's been a backup for other teams ever since. And but with the Niners getting a new opportunity with Purdy being hurt, and I think he's flourishing in a new sort of offensive scheme. And this is kind of I wouldn't say as similar as Sam Darnold with the Vikings, but I would say it's kind of similar to that where a guy goes down and you get another chance. And Mac Jones, I think this is the best that we've seen him look since maybe like when he was in his Patriot days.
Interesting to say. That's really good. So The Vikings just scored a touchdown. It was Jordan Mason from 3 yards out. It's 14-10 Minnesota as we enter the third quarter. Another thing I want to mention, and this is actually very, very key. There's a story out there in Indianapolis. I was going to get into Fresh Fire Fry, but I feel like this needs to be said. There was a story in Indianapolis about a stabbing involving former Jets quarterback Mark Sanchez. And we had a huge development that just happened. The retired quarterback Mark Sanchez, who's been 4 years with the Jets, reportedly got into an altercation with a 69-year-old grease disposable truck operator after Sanchez complained that the truck was blocking a nearby alley, as Fox 59 told. Before the dispute, Sanchez was doing wind sprints in the alley behind the bar where he was drinking and acting erratically. The station reportedly citing sources. This ended up in Mark Sanchez was arrested for battery with injury, unlawful entry of a motor vehicle, and public intoxication, which involved Mark Sanchez getting stabbed. Fox is going to fire him for sure.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. We got him.
Yeah, this is replacing Fresh Fire Fry because I want to give all of us a chance to react on this. Alec, you look the most distraught.
Dude, this is tough. I don't know what he is going through or anything, but and that's not me condoning in what he just did, but dude, I was in disbelief when I read this and the news just came out. This was basically the plot twist of the season. I mean, what just happened here? That's just easily the plot twist of the year, in which we're saying feel bad for the guy, and then this news comes out where the Indianapolis police just put the hands on all of our shoulders and gave us a smirk. But I don't think we have a hard switch from feeling sympathy to us being in absolute shock and all of this. Is what in the world was this? Now, please be smart. You have to think about all your actions and be considerate of what you do. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Now, I'm hoping Sanchez has a good recovery from this, but please be careful.
Yeah. Kevin, you have anything you want to say on this? I know I was one of the first people that brought up this story, but you were one of the first people that actually reacted to it. Are you shocked?
I am shocked because just like Alec and you, like I thought my first instinct when I saw the news broke out was like, what the heck is the dude who stabbed him? What's his problem? You know, and then after like hearing that with what Mark Sanchez did, I'm just so disappointed, man, because this is a guy that like I grew up watching like along with the Giants. I mean, because my friend who lives down the street from me when I was growing up was a massive Jets fan. I think still is to this day, and he loved Mark Sanchez. And to hear like what he did like during all this whole fiasco is just so disheartening, man. I mean, like, please, whenever alcohol commercials say please drink responsibly, because
yes,
this is exactly the kind of thing that alcohol does to your brain. It makes you do wild, crazy stuff like what Mark Sanchez did, and it leads to you getting stabbed. And like, obviously, I wish him a speedy recovery because I don't want to see any human life, like, despite the wrongdoings that they did, end that way. I don't want that to happen to him. But at the same time, like, obviously he's going to get fired from Fox because he was supposed to do the Colts and Raiders game today. He was supposed to be part of that Fox crew. And to hear that news break out, it's just absolutely disheartening to me. And I can't believe that a guy like Mark Sanchez would stoop so low as to do that based on alcohol and stuff like that. It's just I'm just so disappointed, man. I really am. There's nothing really more I could say about it. I'm in shock and like disbelief, but also at the same time, I'm just so disappointed because imagine if this was Eli Manning that did this. I would be furious. I'd be irate. But I'm not a Jets fan, but I feel for Jets fans after that, especially the ones who grew up like my neighbor growing up, who adored Mark Sanchez growing up and loved the Jets and still loves the Jets and was in the building on that game when he had the butt fumble. He was at that game, and I can't believe that like he would do something like that. So I'm just so disappointed by that.
This is despicable to me. because like I said, I remember watching Mark Sanchez take the Jets to back-to-back AFC Championship games, and Mark Sanchez was a good personality. I mean, at one point he was one of the more underrated quarterbacks. He was on G2 cover. I mean, and a really good broadcaster too. People don't understand. Mark Sanchez had a hell of a media career going. Now that's obviously out the toilet.
Yeah.
First off, please watch what you drink, like Kevin said. Second, I always say all the time, old people are the greatest. They're full of wisdom and experience. And you're involving a 69-year-old truck driver in this. That, to me, loses my respect. And Mark Sanchez needs to take a good look in the mirror. I don't know what's going on with his life that alcohol is involved. You have to get an old man involved in this. But I'm absolutely pissed. I mean that. I'm pissed at him for this. Hey, you got to keep your emotions in check. You have a job coming up. You have a gig to do. You can't act like this. So, obviously, when he gets discharged from the hospital, like I said, I hope he gets a speedy recovery. But you're going to get fired from Fox. And you deserve to get fired from Fox. Because this is just bad PR for Fox. This is bad PR for you. This is bad PR for the city of Indianapolis. And at the end of the day, like, there's a better way to go about this than just stabbing an old man for whatever reason. Like, this is not right. And if there's a lot going on in his life, I think he needs to seek help.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Now we're going to conclude the show the way only we know how to. Usually it's fresh fry and fry, but we got to get into fresh spreads because we got a little over half hour left. Okay. So for those of you who want to know the results of fresh spreads, and I got them for once, I actually led the way this past week. I went 8-7. Alec and John went 6-9. Kevin went 5-10.
We'll get him next time.
Well, obviously, like you told me last week, if it's time to change your look, it's now. So we're not going to go through Thursday Night Football, and we're not going to go through now because those games are done. The Falcons, Bears, Packers, and Steelers have a bye. So we have 12 games to go over. We're going to start off with the 1 o'clock games, as we always do. We're going to start off with the game that Mark Sanchez was supposed to call. The Raiders at the Colts. Colts are a 7-point favorite. Kev?
This is a tough one to call because I know that the Colts are a 7.5-point favorite, but like the Raiders, I mean, I felt they had a close game last week against the Bears, and they almost could have won that game. And the Colts, they started off hot 3-0, and then they lose that close game last week to the Rams. And I think that game really came down to the wire. So I don't know. I mean, like it could really go either way. I think the Colts win, but I don't think they cover. I think the Raiders make it closer than it probably is. So I'll take Colts, but they don't cover.
Colts, but no cover. Okay. Yeah. Alec?
Well, Ashton Genty came off a breakout game. And the Raiders, they were in it until the very end and the field goal was blocked. But man, Geno Smith really is reverting back to Jets form. And that's what concerns me with this offensive line. They can't block. And without a good offensive line, he's forced to run for his life. And at age 35, he can't do that forever. The Colts, they really need a bounce back in any way possible after what happened last week against the Rams, because they shot themselves in the foot one too many times. Looking at you, A.D. Mitchell. Well, I think this is a get-right game. And given the state of both teams, this is going to be close, but I think a touchdown decides this. The Raiders are going to rely on Genty all the way. And it's going to be close. The Colts will win it, but like Kevin said, I think the Raiders cover.
The Raiders are a tough team. I'm going to say the exact same thing you guys say. I'm going to say the Raiders cover, not the Colts, but the Colts went outright. So that's my pick. Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys, who are 1-2-1 against the 0-4 Jets. Cowboys are a 1-point road favorite. Kev?
I think that spread's too low, to be completely honest. I do think the Cowboys, especially coming off that big tie in overtime against the Packers, I feel like against the Jets, I feel like the spread should be way more than just 1.5. So I think Cowboys win and easily cover.
Okay, Alec.
Oh, my good. I was beginning to think the Jets were starting to turn a corner with Aaron Glenn and company. Yet they got way too over in their head over and over and over again against the Dolphins. Too many penalties. You gotta clean that up, especially against the Cowboys team that aimed at similarly does commit penalties the rate that the Jets did against the Dolphins. Now the Cowboys, they have still an elite offense with Dak Prescott, Javonte Williams, and even without CeeDee Lamb, they're still in good hands with George Pickens. And here, I think the Cowboys, they can win this outright.
All right. I'm going to say the Cowboys win and cover, unfortunately. I hate the Cowboys, but I'm going to say it that way. Next up, we're going to go to the other New York team, the Giants at the Saints. As we mentioned before, Saints a 1.5-point favorite. Kev?
Again, I already kind of explained it like earlier in the show. Like, I think it's an absolute insult for the Giants to be underdogs in this case when they were 2.5-point favorites earlier on to open up the spread. I think Giants win and they cover because I can't see in the world where an 0-4 Saints team is going to be favorites against a Giants team that just be an undefeated team in the Chargers. Like I hate the disrespect already just from that alone. But I think this was the game that I think like when Giants fans were looking at the schedule, that this was a game that they definitely should be winning, even whoever the quarterback was going to be, whether it was Dart or Russell Wilson. So I think Giants are going to win and they're going to cover.
I think the Giants win and cover as well, Alec.
Well, I think we're all in agreement here. The Saints, they were impressive against the Bills that they were able to keep pace, but that should not change the spread because the Giants won their game with Jackson Dart under center against the Chargers. And the Giants, they show promise all around that game, even without Malik Neighbors. The offense is clicking. Cam Scottaboo's breaking out. Dart is commanding this offense, and it's getting into a new level. Everyone's is leveling up, and the defense is starting to perform as advertised for the Giants. The Saints, they can keep pace, but I don't see a world where the Saints beat the Giants here. Technically, this is an upset, but the Giants win.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going with the Giants. All right, next up, we got the Denver Broncos at Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles -4 at home. Kev?
Another interesting game because if you look at the Eagles' record, they're 4-0. On paper, they're a good team. But then you watch them, and you really don't see a whole lot of I want to say offensive cohesion when Hurts is the quarterback. I'm not trying to say that like they're a bad team. Obviously, they're not a bad team, but They have an offense to where like it doesn't really flash or impress you because Jalen Hurts is the kind of quarterback like with that team, he could throw for less than 100 yards and still win the game. Like it's one of those games where the Eagles defense is just really, really good and like they can really just wear you down against whoever the opponent is and still just squeak out wins. And then you look at the record and say, oh my God, they're unbeatable. I'm like, when you watch the games, it doesn't seem that way. So with the Broncos, it's interesting because they got a good defensive core too. And they've got some great pieces offensively. They got J.K. Dobbins rushing the ball really good. Cortland Sutton is coming into the forefront of his zone. Troy Franklin is having a nice year so far. So I think the game should be closer than expected. I do think the Eagles still win, but I don't think that they cover that 4.5. I just think they win by only 3, though.
Alec?
Man, the Eagles are such a head case to even decipher. It's basically, will they or won't they? Will they break out or won't they? Will they live up to their potential or won't they? They still have Vic Fangio as their defensive coordinator. That's never in doubt. But what's the utilization of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith going to look like? They're frustrated with the roles offensively because the roles are mostly run the ball, tush push, run the ball, tush push.
Exactly.
Run the ball, tush push.
Yes.
It goes like that. Run the ball, fake tush push.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, because
it's so boring. Like I understand what people are saying about how they're the most boring offense in the league, and I can agree with that. And they're not a bad team, but like the way that they run their offense is just not. It's just so not exciting to me. I'm sorry.
And people say like all the time the tush push is the best thing ever. It's basically a quarterback sneak. I mean, come on now.
Pretty much.
I mean, to say the least. Just because they run the tush push so well doesn't mean that it should be banned. But watching the Philadelphia Eagles is like watching the San Antonio Spurs with Tim Duncan and company. it's boring but efficient. Not a lot of people want to see it though, and that's what makes the Eagles such a head case. And I'm saying this both complimenting and insulting them at the same time. So head case in the way that they can frustrate people, head case in the way that they can frustrate even their own fans here. And even their own players are frustrated. And A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are clearly a prime examples of that. The Broncos will make this interesting, but the Eagles barely squeeze this out. I'm not saying they're covering because the Broncos are doing that. Philadelphia barely squeaks this out, knowing them.
Okay, a little update before I get my pick. The Browns just scored a touchdown, David Njoku. So it's 17-14 Cleveland. The Eagles are like watching paint dry offensively. It's literally like watching paint dry. It's the same 4 plays every freaking possession. I'll say the Eagles win, but they don't cover. It's as simple as that. Next up, we got a battle of former Alabama quarterbacks. We got Tua and the Miami Dolphins versus Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. The Dolphins are a 1-point favorite on the road, Kev.
The Panthers, I mean, they looked good one week and then they looked bad one week. And the Dolphins, they look good one week and then they look bad one week. So I think this could go either way, honestly. Dolphins, obviously going to be without Tyreek Hill, and he's a big part of that offense. And so obviously guys have got to step up. So I'd expect like Jalen Waddle to be like the main target for Tua. And for the Panthers, I mean, like they're just all over the place. I can't really decide if they're like, are they like a good team that could upset, or are they like a bad team that's just bad? You know what I mean? So like Dolphins against, it's just a close one because they got Dolphins as a 1.5-point favorite even without Hill. I'm gonna say Panthers. I'm gonna say Panthers win this.
All right, Panthers won.
I think Panthers win this. I think maybe by a field goal because I think that's a pick 'em, honestly. Without Hill, because it's really tough to decipher like how good or bad that Miami team is going to be. So I'll say Panthers.
Nice. All right, Alec.
Like Kevin said, it's a toss-up game because one week the Dolphins, they play up to their potential. The next week, they don't. But in recent weeks, I feel the Dolphins have been playing up to their potential. But without Tyreek Hill, that's going to be a crusher. And that kind of injury, that gruesome as it is, let me be real with you. A dislocated knee is worse than a dislocated knee cap. Mm-hmm. And at the stage of career that Tyreek Hill is at, he's never going to be the same player ever again if he does try to come back onto the field. He's going to be a hollow shell of what he once was. If he calls it a career, I wouldn't blame him. Then you get the news that just came out that the Dolphins are expected to cut him at the end of the year. And honestly, he needs a fresh start elsewhere. I think it's what works best for both parties. This game here, I think the Dolphins, they'll carry on from the last 2 weeks. The Panthers are going to be a woe day or won't day type of team. Are they going to play up to potential, or are they going to be the same old Panthers as we've known them? I think the Dolphins take this one.
All right, I'm going to rate the tie. I'm going to say the Panthers take this one. I just like the way Bryce Young's been playing. Both these offenses are bipolar, but I think the Panthers are less bipolar than Miami is, especially Tyreek Hill. Texans at the Ravens, 2 teams that were once division champions are now both 1-3. Texans are a 1.5-point favorite. No Lamar Jackson. I'm feeling the Cooper Rush. Kev?
Listen, even without Lamar Jackson, Ravens better hope they win this game because this should be a get-right game for them because I know Cooper Rush is definitely more than capable of being serviceable at quarterback, and the Ravens still have pieces that can win football games. And the Texans, like they're a team that's struggling right now. And also, did you guys hear like that quote that CJ Stroud had the other day? Who's like, "I'm getting old. I'm not moving as well as I used to be." Like, bro, you're in your 20s. You're like 23 years old. Like,
yeah, seriously, come on now.
What are you talking about? You can't move as well as you were. You've only been in the league. This is only your 3rd year.
Seriously,
so like, it doesn't really inspire confidence in me if I'm a Texans fan. If I'm the Ravens, this should be a get right game for you, even though you don't have Lamar Jackson. So I'm going to say Ravens win and they cover. But if the Ravens don't win this game, you might not even see them in the playoffs this year. I'm just going to say it outright.
All right, Alec.
What Kevin said, that if the Ravens don't win this game, it's DEFCON 1. No Lamar Jackson, no Roquan Smith, no Marlon Humphrey, no Nate Wiggins, and Nnamdi Madubuike is out for the rest of the year. So that's 5 players in which they're dealing with injury concerns. Then you have Derrick Henry having fumbling issues basically every game now. He got stymied by Steve Spagnuolo's defense, who, by the way, game plans against Lamar Jackson better than any other defensive coordinator in this league. Against Houston, though, this is a get-right game for Baltimore. Even if you have Cooper Rush, who still is one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league. He's too good to falter at any situation. But the challenge here is going up against the Houston defense here. But if there's any quarterback that can take on that challenge as a backup, it could be Cooper Rush. The CJ Stroud quote doesn't exactly instill confidence, but Baltimore's defense is seeing their bodies fall down one by one. But they're already bad to begin with, even with their starters being healthy. And Zach Orr looks overmatched as a defensive coordinator. Well, there might be a guy out there that can help out. Wink Martindale. Well, either way, Baltimore should win this one and cover.
I want to say Baltimore wins, but I'm going to go with Houston. I just think that Lamar Jackson is the ultimate difference maker, and I think that not having him is going to be massive. I know Cooper Rush has had some starting experience, but he hasn't been too good of a starter. He's won games, but I'm not really too sure about this in Baltimore. Next up, we got the 0-4 Tennessee Titans, who apparently suck bleep, according to Cam Ward, versus the 2-2 Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are a 7.5-point favorite. Kev.
Well, he was right. They did suck against the Texans. Like, they got blown out and shut out by the Texans. And against the Cardinals, I don't think it'll be any different. Cardinals, I mean, like, they're playing some decent football. And Titans, again, they just don't have the chemistry or cohesion with Cam Ward as their quarterback this year. But maybe next year, like, it'll start to click for them. But for the Cardinals, 7.5-point favorite, I do expect them to win and to cover that 7.5-point favorite, because I know that, like, James Conner's out for the year, and I don't know if Trey Benson is on the IR still, but I think that okay, so DeMercado should be, like, balling out as well.
Yeah, Mark DeMercado.
Yeah, DeMercado should be balling out, and I hope that this is also a get-right game for Marvin Harrison Jr., because he hasn't been playing to the expectations that the Cardinals would like to have him at. So I think this will be a get-right game for the Cardinals in that sense, and that they should easily be covering that 7.5-point spread.
Okay, Alec.
Well, Cardinals by a million here. The Cam Ward quote just said it all about the way that they are playing, and the quality of play. And what Kevin has alluded to, hopefully they get it right next year, but they have to move on from Brian Callahan first and foremost. Overhaul the entire coaching staff. Maybe even get some more defensive faces. Jerry Sneed had that one big contract year with Kansas City and then took the big bag in Tennessee. Hasn't been the same since. And if you're Tennessee, if you're a fan of the Titans, you're just hoping that there are better days ahead, because for any other team in the NFL, playing the Titans at this point is basically a glorified bye week.
Seriously. All right, I'm going with the Cardinals as well to cover 7.5 easily. Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Seattle Seahawks. Interesting game here. Seahawks minus 3.5. Kev?
Yeah, another tough one to call, because both Bucs and the Seahawks are really good teams. Bucs, we know, had a very close game against the Eagles, and they really had them on their heels. And the Seahawks have been playing some good football so far this season. I feel like Sam Darnold is a very good quarterback for them and gets into another new fresh system. JSN has been balling out as the wide receiver 1. Kenneth Walker seems like he's been doing great on the ground. And meanwhile, the Bucs, I mean, they're gonna not having Mike Evans for some extended time. I don't know if Bucky Irving is still hurt or not. If he's going to be healthy for this game.
He's been ruled out.
He's ruled. Okay, so he's ruled out. So that's another guy that's going to be ruled out. So you're looking at maybe Emeka Egbuka and Chris Godwin to basically handle the receiving for you. And I trust in Baker Mayfield, I do. But the Seahawks are a more healthy team, but I think it'll be a really close game. I think that the Seahawks win, but I don't think they cover. I think it's going to be a 3-point game.
All right, Alec.
Well, so we look at Baker Mayfield's redemption and revival. That's continuing to carry on over to this season. Seattle has been quick on all cylinders so far this year as one of the best defenses. And with Sam Darnold commanding this offense, it's been into new heights. Kenneth Walker is thriving. Jackson Smith-Njigba, thriving. And Zach Charbonnet, quality RB2. So everything is there for Seattle on the recipe. How about Elijah Arroyo emerging as tight end number 1 in Seattle as their full-time tight end? The defense has been among the league's best under Mike McDonald as their head coach. So this is his team, his vision, as John Welch put it. But here against Tampa Bay, this is a tough test, and it could be a swing game, more likely than not.
Yeah.
But this is a matter of team health that's going to come down to. The Seahawks are the healthier team here. And while Tampa Bay has won games in cardiac style, it's going to be another one of those cardiac games. But Seattle's an expert at cardiac games. They win here, and I think they cover.
Okay. I'm going to say the 12th man prevails. I think Seattle wins by 4. I think they barely cover. So I have Seattle. Next up, we got the Lions at the Bengals. The Lions, again, another double-digit spread, 10 points on the dot. Kev?
Should be way more than that because the Bengals like to be what's the word I'm looking for?
This putrid.
Garbage. Like to put it lightly, they're just garbage. With Joe Burrow getting hurt for the year and Jake Browning being the new quarterback, I'm sorry. It's nothing against Jake Browning. I think he is a good backup quarterback. But that offensive line is just terrible for the Bengals. The defense with Trey Hendrickson hurt is terrible. And Jamar Chase not getting the targets that he rightfully deserves and him getting frustrated at the sideline, I don't blame him one bit because he was the number 1 overall consensus for the best player in fantasy this year. And he is disappointed so much like this year. It's not on him. It's because of the way the team is constructed and because of the play calling and because of Burrow getting hurt and Browning not giving him targets. The Bengals are just a dumpster fire any way you look at it. Lions by 1 million and they easily cover.
All right, Alec.
Well, it turns out I'm having problems hearing Kevin right now, but all right, I'm seeing Kevin right now. So I lost you guys for the moment, but
okay.
So here, between these two, well, the Lions and the Bengals, I think it's no comparison. Without Joe Burrow, there's no compass on Cincinnati. So Jamar Chase is going to have a hard time finding targets. T. Higgins is going to have a hard time finding targets. And the ground game is basically being abandoned because the Bengals just can't keep up with anyone. You look at that one picture of the offensive line, you have 4 guys blocking 1 Broncos defensive lineman.
Oh,
you have both tackles trying to fight for their lives by blocking off the other 2 defensive linemen. The Broncos only have to send 3 rushers after Jake Browning. Vance Joseph knew that if he can dial up base rushes, they'll get to Browning. And it worked. That's unacceptable if you're Cincinnati. This is mismanagement of your team 101 if you're the front office. That cannot happen anytime. Because if you mismanage it and you're facing off against a hungry Lions team, you're going to have your kneecaps bitten off and you're going to have Sonic the Hedgehog run all over you. As is the case here, as I'm doing my Sonic voice, and Lions win and they cover.
Lions win and they cover too. So we're all going the Lions. This has just been bad. I think Zach Taylor is on his way out the door. He is on his way out the door. He's just been managed his roster so terribly. Next up, we got the Washington Commanders at the Los Angeles Chargers. Jane Daniels is coming back. Chargers -3.
Again, another close one to call. Obviously, Chargers didn't win last week against the Giants, but I think against the Commanders, I think they'll play much more competitive, and it'll be a much higher scoring game than what the Giants game was. With Jane Daniels coming back, that's huge for the Commanders because I think even without Jane Daniels, the Commanders were still playing good. And when you add him back, I think they're going to be even better. But it'll be another close game. I mean, I think like this game will come down to defense because I think both the defenses are very adequate and solid. Both the quarterbacks, Herbert and Daniels, are very good. both the offenses are very good. So I feel like might come down to like the maybe last few possessions. But I think the Commanders win this game, and I think that they win by a touchdown.
All right. Alec.
Oh, well, when I heard the news of Jaden Daniels wearing a knee brace for this game, it gave me a sense of relief, but also some chills. I swear, if history repeats it, wait, they're playing at SoFi? Okay,
They're playing in SoFi.
All right, so knee brace, but it almost gave me chills because as I think back to when they had Robert Griffin as their QB, and oh my goodness. But here, I think it could be a different story, and it's going to come down to how both defenses perform. Now, the Chargers' offensive line is taking a beating with Joe Alt being out, and if he's going to be out for extended time, the Chargers might be in some trouble because they already lost Rashawn Slater for the season. But Alt is their other big piece on the offensive tackle side. Quentin Johnston may be making a case as their wide receiver one, and Ladd McConkey has been getting less utilization. So it's basically they're going to feed all their targets, and the running backs are going to thrive if you're the Chargers with Amari and Hampton. But I think it's going to be Washington in Jaden Daniels' return getting the win if he puts up a big performance, which I think he will do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going with the Chargers -3 as well. I think the Chargers at home, although SoFi fans in Los Angeles don't seem to care about the Chargers these days, which is very, very sad. I think the Chargers are just a better team than the Commanders. That's just how I see it. All right, we're going to go through the primetime games really quick with spreads because we're coming towards the bottom of the second hour. Why is this even a primetime game? Patriots and Bills. Bills -8. Kev.
Patriots by 14. They easily cover. Or excuse me, Bills by 14. They easily cover. Yeah. There you go. Sorry, Patriots.
Now the spread would have been reversed if this was a prime Tom Brady.
I just read the first name. I'm sorry. Bills by 14.
It's fine. It's fine. If it was the Patriots, if Tom Brady was still playing, it'd be a whole different story. All right, Alec, real quick.
Yeah. All right, I'll give you the answer why this is a primetime game. Stephon Diggs. That's the answer.
Right.
Now, I think this is going to be a trap game for the Bills because it's no secret their defense is bad. And even though they're going to get Ed Oliver and Matt Milano back, without these two, the defense has no identity. And you need these two back as soon as possible so as to have them riding the ship. But they can't do everything on their own. Joey Bosa is not what he used to be. Let's remember that. And Drake May is developing into New England's answer to Josh Allen. Every passing week, he gets more exciting to watch. And we're seeing him on his breakout year. The Patriots keep it close, but I think the Bills win the end. How is it going to be decided? Well, New England covers.
Right. That's surprising. I'm going to say the Bills win and cover easily. All right. Last but not least, the Monday night game. We got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the spread says KC -3.5. Kev?
Listen, I know the Jaguars did get that big win against the Niners, but they didn't face Mac Attack Jones as the quarterback. They faced Brock Purdy, who has proven to be the lesser of the two quarterbacks. But they're facing a Chiefs team that came off a big win against the Ravens, who have been very disappointing, like we said before. Mahomes should ball out. This should be another good game for the Chiefs. And to think that they started really bad on the season, but now they're starting to like pick it up a little bit and really playing to their expectations. So I do expect the same thing here against the Jaguars. So I think Chiefs win and they easily cover.
All right, Chiefs win and easily cover. Alec?
I think this is going to be tighter than people imagine. The Jaguars defense is putting the league on notice right now. Josh Hines Allen is still Josh Hines Allen. Trayvon Walker is still putting up solid numbers opposite JHA. But we're seeing the emergence of another player on this Jaguars defense. Devin Lloyd is becoming a star before our very eyes. Yes. And he is destroying worlds all around on the Jaguars, all around opponents. And he's becoming this vocal leader outside of Josh Hines Allen. The offense can be a little frisky. And it's going to be the biggest challenge for Jacksonville on the season with Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. Bashal Tutin is having a nice year starting off. But up against Steve Spagnuolo and company, good luck. Kansas City wins and covers.
Kansas City and cover. I'm going to go oddball here. Jacksonville plus 3.5. It's in Duval. I like the way Trevor Lawrence is performing. This Chiefs team is very up and down. They're streaky offensively. And I said that same thing last week, and they proved me wrong. This week, they're not going to prove me wrong. I have the Jaguars plus 3.5.
Okay.
Oh, Xavier Warvius back.
Well, I don't care. I'm putting my chips in.
At least you're honest.
I don't care. Okay, so we're going to get into our partner, actually, for Foursquare Sports, and I'm talking about My Camp Solutions and Octagon Payments. My Camp Solutions and Octagon Payments is a wholesale credit card company that gives you great rates without signing a long-term contract with outstanding customer service. If you want to know more, our friend Ryan, who is from Arizona, hooked us up with this connection, and here's a little ad promoting them. Take a listen.
Hey, I'm Matt Sirianni, and I'm a quarter of Foursquare Sports. And if you don't know me by now, I'm all about Octagon Payments and My Camp Solutions. My Camp Solutions is the only wholesale credit card company that will give you amazing processing rates without signing a long-term contract. And along with outstanding customer service, this company is a betting favorite against anyone you put in front of them. So sign up today. Go to www.mycampsolutions.com or www.octagonpayments.com and apply now. My Camp Solutions. It's a first-round knockout.
And again, thank you, My Camp Solutions. I'll make sure I have a little banner for you in the top right corner to promote your business. But we're slowly getting there. Also, quick note before we do sign off. I did attend a charity event for Ocean of Love. And if you don't know what Ocean of Love is, this is a promotion again. But Ocean of Love is a care center for children with cancer. Ocean of Love is all about taking care of those youngsters who are dealing with it, and they talk to their families, and they talk to their guardians and everything to make sure that they have the best care available. One thing that they do have is that they connect with your family and they stay in touch with your family, even if the child passes away due to cancer. It's actually very wholesome. And I spoke to the owner at that golf outing that I went to earlier this past Monday, and it was just like a very wholesome charity. God bless those kids, because first off, we say all the time that like stuff is awful. Nothing sucks more than cancer. And I can say that from like the bottom of my heart. I hate it. So there's always nice charities out there. And I think actually Ryan of My Camp Solutions also is involved with a military-like charity. So I'll do more research on that and maybe get it out on there as well. But from Matt Sirianni, Alec, this has been Foursquare Sports. God bless you all. Thank you for tuning into this one. We had to wake up a little early for this one, but we made it work. And that's the ultimate thing that we do here at Foursquare Sports. We get challenged, we make it work. And that's what we're all about. John Welch is probably sulking in the fact that the Mariners lost last night, but don't worry, John will be back in another episode this next week, definitely. But we're not doing this on a Sunday morning. I can promise you that. Anyway, like I always say before we conclude the show, please look after your elders, because like SpongeBob SquarePants once said, old people are the greatest. They're full of wisdom and experience. And especially in the case of Mark Sanchez, your elders are very important and they should be cherished. And never, ever, ever forget that. This has been Foursquare Sports, which is sports at score. And listen to us live on 102.3 KIXP, the Island Experience. Take care, everybody. Have a good day.
Hi, everybody. Christopher Mad Dog Russo here. And you know what I do? Foursquare Sports on Sunday nights, 6 to 8, with all those parts of the country taken care of. Listen all the time. You got it. Mad Dog on Mad Dog Unleashed. Listen to my guys. Listen to my guys.